Oh wait, no longer. Greatness has arrived. Welcome to episode 315 of The Trophy Room, a PlayStation podcast made by the players for the players. I'm your host, Joseph, aka Mr. Badbit, and it is here where me and my best friend Kyle talk about the latest and greatest in all things PlayStation. Of course, this week we are talking about the Horizon's DLC info dump and yet a lack of gameplay trailer. We're going to find out or talk about PlayStation 5 Pro rumors really being true or not. We're going to be talking about how Microsoft is signing deals left and right to undercut PlayStation, Resident Evil 4 remake impressions, and so much more. But with all that said, and with all that out of the way, the greatest co-host, whoever is, whoever will be, Mr. Kyle Stevenson, is not here today. He is sick with a stomach bug, a pre-PAX East stomach bug, but he sends his love, his support, and he wants everybody to know that next week, March 22nd, 9 a.m. PST time or real time, noon EST time, is the 6-1 Indie Mini Indie Showcase. So make sure you check that out. Of course, we're going to pimp that out one more time next week. But Kyle and the team over at 6-1 have a jam-packed show, 33 indies, 46 minutes long. It's a huge love letter to these small developers that make games possible. So make sure you check them out and send Kyle your regards, your love over at Mr. K-Step. Tell him already how he was sorely missed this week because we love him and we really hope he gets that stomach bug figured on out. But listen, I'm not doing this show alone. I brought in the best backup that I know coming along the way of the Keel Hall podcast and the Xbox expansion pass, our good friend, Captain Logan. Logan, how are you, sir?
Ahoy, buddy. How you doing?
Ooh-wee, I like the energy.
Ooh-wee.
I'm doing pretty good, dude. I'm feeling a little disoriented, right?
I can't imagine why.
Well, I am. I, for the first time in my VR life, and first time with PSVR 2, I got sick. I got a little stomach like churning. Like I got the seasickness that everybody's talking about. Ugh. And the reason is because of Horizon Call of the Mountain. You want to hear this? Have you heard about this? I'm trying to platinum this game. And I need collectibles, right? I need to find all of them. I need to shoot all the warning markers.
Oh, I love those.
I love those too. It makes you feel so great.
Right.
The problem is I'm turning off and on my VR headset or putting it down every 5 minutes to go and watch PlayStation 5 trophies, right?
Oh.
So my head right now is like, Joe, I don't even know what is reality right now.
But, you feel like Lawnmower Man. You're just like, you can't tell what's true, what's false. It's all just blurring together, and you feel like you could just reach out there and grab Aloy, and then someone rips the headset off and tells you to stop kissing the TV, kind of thing.
Yeah, kind of, sort of.
Is that just me?
Your wife's looking at you very disappointed.
I already have videos of like how dumb I look in VR that she sent me while she's cooking dinner, which, she's cooking dinner. I'm playing VR. So of course I'm going to get videos of how dumb I look, like, oh yeah, dude, I'm climbing the thing. So, but yeah, no, that's definitely never been a thing.
How are you liking PSVR 2?
I think it's a fantastic headset. Yeah. I really haven't dabbled in PSVR 2, but I waited on getting a VR headset until I saw something that I felt was going to be a trusted brand in the marketplace that was going to have good sustainability and with content that I thought would drive engagement. And those were the main reasons why I went with PSVR 2, because I saw the initiatives from Sony deciding that they wanted to put their first party titles as VR experiences. They wanted to push with that. The headset is a really strong headset as far as tech goes, and the cost is still less than spending a whole bunch of money for a brand new PC plus the headset just to get something that was accessible. So I'm very happy with the PSVR 2. In fact, I'm waiting on my little docking station that Ainsley Bowden had kind of tweeted out recently. It was like a $30 headset that holds the headset and the controllers. It's on back order for them, but I ordered that. I'm waiting for that to get it out of the little box that it's in
I think I need to do the same, because like right now it's like wherever I could place PSVR 2, that's where I'm like putting it. So like right now it's right next to me, but like it's just resting on my MacBook because that's the space that I have available. So like I definitely need a stand where I could put all the controllers, all the little knickknacks on, so it makes it look nice and not a goddamn mess.
Plus, I just want to have quick access to it. You know, you're sitting there and you want to jump into it, and you still have to plug it in. So I don't want to have to sit there and like open up the box, pull it out from behind the entertainment center, keep the cats away from the box, you know, and all that stuff. Like, I just want to have a nice little display stand for it while the controllers are charging, because the PS5 only has like a certain number of little ports that you can charge stuff with. So I've already got other stuff, you know, like battling for those outlets. So I want one that'll take care of all of it, really.
Between like the cord that I always have hanging off to charge my DualSense, and then the slot that I have for my headsets, and then one for the hard drive that I have connected to it, and then PlayStation VR 2, it's like it's an Akira looking monster at this point. PlayStation 5. It's like it looks like it's hooked up in the Matrix. You know,
you feel like you're gonna like end up in some anime that you really didn't sign up for, and you're just gonna have to be like, ooh.
Exactly. It's something ooh, and I'm uncomfortable by it. But like I really, I need to do something. I need to do something about my whole setup, because it's a gosh dang mess. But you know what isn't a mess? Our Resident Evil 4 remake giveaway. Y'all, we have 7 more days for you to enter into our Resident Evil 4 remake giveaway. All you have to do is go on over to Apple Podcasts, rate us 5 stars, share it out to us, your review, and please say something nice. Like Mr. BDS85 said, gave us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. They say, love Joe and Kyle and their Sony banter. Makes me laugh also. A great rundown of the weekly news, and their new interviews have been doing or are top notch. Thank you so much, Mr. Diaz. And Game Drop gave us a 5-star review as well over on Apple Podcasts in America. And they say, as a lifelong multi-platform gamer who's always ended up on the Xbox side of things most of the time, I find this podcast refreshingly honest and open-minded, very enjoyable to listen to, and I find myself looking forward to each and every next episode. I'm thoroughly enjoying my PlayStation VR 2. Ooh-wee, look at you. So keep up the good work covering it. Thank you so much, and we shall. Next week's going to be pretty big for us. And of course, if you don't listen on Apple Podcasts, you could always go over to Spotify, drop us a 5-star review as well. Every review helps. It helps grow the show. And right now, currently, we're at 903 reviews worldwide. Wide. So drop us a 5-star review. It really does help. And that said, one last bit of housekeeping before we talk about all things PlayStation. It's time for a Patreon pitch. Of course, before we get into the news, let's shout out our amazing patrons over at patreon.com/PS Trophy Room. I want to thank our newest members, Jonas Young at the Platinum tier, Spammin' Bammin' at the Gold tier, and Switters Yoni at the Bronze tier. I want to thank our premium producers, Todd Burwitz and Toxic. I want to thank our Platinum members, Brad Presnell, Brent Gillian, Jedi Master Ren, Cowboy Danger D, Jonas Young, Jose Jimenez, the Green Guerrilla Gamer, Chaotic Monkey, Millennial Falcon Gaming, Rayuko Kill 90, Sith Lord 92, Spammin' Bammin' once again, Stephen Flesh, and Struples and Bits. I want to thank our gold members, Awesome Dave, Cypher Primus, Bertos Maximus, Baldrin, Doss Simon the Pie Man, Daniel Welsh, DJ Hercules 89, Elo 2032, Jesse Garcia, JB the Purple Monkey, Hide Indoors, Nakachaka, Katie, Kevin Mitchell, Kevin Diaz, Kevin Ainsworth, K Grim, Lamb Chop 93, Marcus O'Neill, Androsasaur, Astronaut Jr., not to be mistaken with Astronaut Sr., Rick Arrington, Dewane Raksha, the Aztec King, Robbie Bobby Miller himself, Brenton Zachary, Benty Blob, Bubble Boy N7. Captain Logan, you're here.
Oh, I'm here.
What are the odds? Final Fan XZ Hambone JD Dillinger M9 Primed Stone Cold ET said so. Tino 6 Speed M Kyle H85 N Johnson Sean McKenzie Matt Pio pew, 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 the Red Arrow. Thank you all so much for being a patron of the show. It's the reason why we look so great, sound so good. It's because of your generosity over at patreon.com/PS Trophy Room. And a little spoiler alert. The money we raise from Patreon is going straight to a new PC for me because mine is combusting at the seams. It seems like, oh my God, it seems like every week, dude, there's a new problem with it. Not caused by you, Logan. But
definitely, I have never once tried to sabotage this show.
No.
Never once have I done anything to cause you to have to reinstall the drivers for your microphone.
Right.
That's just not a thing.
I never had to hard reset my whole entire PC because of
never spent a weekend
mistake.
working on it. No.
But because of that, now I put you through the rigmarole, sir. It is time to square up the news. And usually, listen, guests, they come on, I try to read the news. But I'm dyslexic and I got a big old migraine. So you decided to take it upon yourself to read the news. So it's time to square up the news.
First story in this week, making Horizon Forbidden West's DLC PS5 exclusive. Let Guerrilla Games charge forward. This comes to us from Jordan Midler over at VGC. Guerrilla Games has discussed how making Horizon Forbidden West expansion, Burning Shores, PS5 exclusive, has allowed it to get more out of the system. The expansion, which will release in April, isn't coming to PS4, despite the base game. 2022's Horizon Forbidden West being released for Sony's current and last-gen consoles. Speaking to the PS blog, Horizon Forbidden West director Mathis De Jong, is that pretty close?
Honestly, I would have done something way more offensive by accident. So
Fair
I
enough.
feel like close enough is great here. My apologies if we get it wrong, but I feel like you nailed it.
Very sorry. Said on Horizon Forbidden West, everything we added or increased was something we needed to have a plan around how to optimize for PS4 as well. De Jong cited the detail in the open world as one of the advantages of making the expansion only available on PS5. He goes on to quote, "The cityscapes, ruins of LA and its surroundings are highly detailed and required a lot of processing power, as well as fast streaming technology to run properly, especially when the player is flying over the lands and can see a lot at once. One of the settlements is situated in and around those detailed ruins, and we were able to squeeze a lot of activity in there." It's actually one of the things I love about that. Burning Shores will see Aloy explore a ruined version of Los Angeles. She will seemingly visit several landmarks, including the Hollywood sign, the Capitol Records building, one of my favorites, and Venice Beach, which is a lot of fun. De Jong also teased a specific set piece in the expansion that will apparently utilize the PS5 hardware. Another notable one is a particular battle scene that requires a lot of memory and processing power. To achieve this grand vision, both technically and creatively, we definitely were thankful for many advantages that the PS5 hardware brings.
Let me tell you, you got an ASMR voice if I've ever heard of it. That was like, that was just like, cutting butter, that sounded nice.
I
But
do
Logan,
declare, Mr. Joseph, that is such a kind thing to say.
Logan, I got a question for you, sir.
Shoot.
You're a new Guerrilla Games fan, or Horizon fan, right? Like you just got done beating Horizon Zero Dawn, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Just
you
barely.
loved it. If I'm just assuming, right? You said you love it.
No, I absolutely adored it. It's one of my favorite games now. It's up there. And the reason for it is because it came out right about the same time as Zelda: The Breath of the Wild, and I was like, it's Zelda: The Breath of the Wild. Like I'm not gonna play no Horizon when I got Zelda: Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
So, but now going back to it, especially with the collector's edition, which is behind me in a little scene here, I got that 50% off. So I was like, well, now I got to play these games because that's a smoking deal, and I love the little elephant guy back there. But yeah, it's a really good series. I've actually and my wife has really loved it as well too, because it's got a female lead in an open world, and there's a bunch of robot dinosaurs. Like what's not to like?
Yeah. So my question for you: you've seen a lot of Horizon stuff. Like we got Call of the Mountain, of course we got Forbidden West, then we get this MMO type of situation that may be on the horizon, and then this could be free to play multiplayer game. Are you feeling already as a new fan, okay, maybe this is a little bit too much, pull back? Or as a new fan, you're like, this is exciting, please give me more of this?
I'm stoked for this, actually. For someone who lives in California, I've been through LA, I've seen Venice Beach, and like Capitol Records building is really awesome. I really love that whole downtown area. I was looking forward to jumping into Forbidden West to the point where I was cleaning up most of the stuff in Zero Dawn. And I got to the point where I was like, should I jump into Call of the Mountain or should I jump into Forbidden West? Because I really, really wanted to see San Francisco. I live 2 hours away from it. I really wanted to check it out. So I jumped into Forbidden West and got a fair amount of way through that, up until the point that Call of the Mountain came out. And then I was like, okay, well, I got to play Call of the Mountain, and I really love that, and I've been having a good time. So the fact that they're coming out with new DLC content for this has me excited, because it not only goes to places where I'm actually going to have like a knowledge of what it actually looks like, but I'm looking forward to furthering that story, because I think just in general, this is probably one of the more interesting IPs that have come out of Sony that's fresh and interesting with a unique perspective that isn't really like, it has the tropes of what you would find in open world games, but it does so in a way that really does draw upon the creativity of a world that is post-apocalyptic in a way that isn't just zombies or something like akin to that. Like they're doing robot dinosaurs, and it's so freaking cool to me. So I'm excited for this.
It's vibrant and it's beautiful, and for the post-apocalyptic like thing, we never really truly kind of discover that. And having Horizon here, the reason why I loved the first one and the second one so much was it felt familiar. Like you saw things, you're like, oh, I know what that is. No spoilers there, but like you're like, but it's aged so much that it looks foreign. And like just the concept of civilizations being aware that there was people here before, and like they're the fossils, like those concepts are always interesting to me. So like when I see, Call of the Mountain, it's just a new way for me to enter that world. And I've been enjoying it a whole bunch, even though I make myself sick when I go play it. And when I think of like an MMO, I'm like, yeah, that's exciting. To me, I'm on one hand, I don't want Guerrilla to be we're the Horizon, team. This is all we do, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But at the other hand, it's like, as long as they're approaching these stories correctly, I don't really necessarily care. And when I say that, I think of things like Star Wars. I think of things like the MCU. Like, I love The Mandalorian. It's some of my favorite Star Wars ever. And I love Andor. Like, but there's some things some things that I could disregard, like the prequels. But there's seemingly something always for me. So for me, it's just like, I got to be in this Horizon world. That's great. That's excellent, as long as it's handled with care. And that brings me to the next little question here. PlayStation talked about they believed in generations, and I think this is something that's going to haunt them for at least another year or two. And then we find out that Horizon is PS4 and PS5, cross-gen game. And they were like, but it's not holding back the PS5. We got special water on the PlayStation 5 version that, the PS4 version doesn't have. Now they're kind of, it seemingly sounds like they're playing another tune where it's just like, well, we dropped the PlayStation 4 version because we want to do even bigger and better things. So do you feel like this is a little bit of double speak by Sony's half, of like them trying to dance between the line of, we made a PS4 version, but now we're saying goodbye to it, and we're saying from here on out, this DLC PS5 only. Do you feel like they are kind of disrespecting in a way, or maybe just, maybe it's a sign of negligence or whatever, just by leaving behind the PS4 players, is that kind of them just kind of slapping them in the face? Do you feel like this should be cross-gen as well? Let me know your thoughts.
Yeah, this is the tough situation, right? Because it's clear that Sony suffered from the issues that were going on with COVID, the way every other company was at the back in 2020. And if they had the opportunity, I guarantee you they would have had all of the PS5s available at launch. They would have had an amazing first year, and we probably wouldn't have seen that much with regards to a PS4 version of God of War Ragnarok, or well, that's a little bit different because I think they planned that. But I think if Sony had an opportunity, I think Jim Ryan's statement was accurate that they wanted to push people to the PS5. They didn't get that opportunity. It was taken from them. I'm always curious to what would have happened if Sony had the amazing first year that they wanted to have. Do I think it's a kind of slap in the face to the PS4 people out there that want to continue the story with Aloy? Yes. But at the same time, I have to think about, when are we going to actually get into this generation? When are we finally going to push forward into the PS5 and Xbox Series X and S like generation? Yeah. And it has to start somewhere. And sometimes the best way to do that is to get your feet wet with something that you're already comfortable with. And doing that with DLC does hurt the fans that are playing it on PS4, but the game will always work for their PS4 and PS5. So when they go and eventually get a PS5, whether it be the $400 or $500 version, they will always have their save for the PS4 version, and could probably get the double plat if they go with the PS5 version, if I'm correct, right?
No, PS4 I think is the double plat, and then when you upgrade to the PS5, then all the trophies just start popping up. But you make an interesting point. It's like, when are we just gonna let go? And when we heard about the DLC in the Game Awards and people were upset the first time of like hearing it being PS5 only, I was just like, okay guys, how many people still have that PS4 version of their game? Right? Like, we take a look at Horizon Forbidden West sales and how it's been, bundled a lot with PlayStation 5s over the past year, right? You're seeing it now on the PlayStation Plus extra service. Like, how many people beat the game on PS4 versus PS5? And when you're now saying we're going to sell this DLC as like a $30, $40 thing, you're now saying, okay, so to the 30, 40, maybe 50% that beat it on PS5, that's how much money we are expecting to make out of here, right? Like, how many people are really interested? So to me, I think they saw the sales of the PS4/PS5 version and went, all right, economically, this makes sense if we just ditch the PS4 version, because seemingly most people bought it on PS5, right? Most people beat it on PS5. And so we can kind of let go of the PlayStation 4 version, but it's gonna make us look a little ugly when we do it. What's your point?
Okay, so here's my thoughts on that as well too. And if anyone is feeling bad that they're missing out on this content, I 100% support your right to feel bad about it. But what I have to point out is that CDPR refused to ditch the last gen version of Cyberpunk 2077. And as someone who for an entire year did a Cyberpunk lorecast, that was a podcast that I did on the Robots Radio Network, that show, we had the hardest time supporting that, because it was, I played it on PS4, I played it on Xbox One X, I played it on Xbox Series X, I've played it on PS5, and I can tell you right now, if I had my druthers, if I'd had the choice in the room and said, like, this is going to be the best choice for us, I would have told them to drop the PS4 and Xbox One versions, because their game would have been the realization of their dream would have been serviced better with the newer hardware, the way they intended it with like the PC version. If you want this DLC to be as good as the studio that you trust to handle the Horizon IP, to be as good as it can be, you have to let them move past certain generations. You have to let them take advantage of the really nice hardware that is the PS5 and play around in that space. And it's not the mainline game. It's just the DLC. You're still getting the full story. This is going to be an addition, and it'll always be there. You're never going to be unable to access it if and when you decide to move up to a PS5, and it'll be there waiting. And chances are it'll probably be a lot cheaper by the time you finally do actually get into a PS5.
Logan, you're sounding pretty gosh dang rational. I hate that because, like, on one hand, like I do, like I agree. Like, if you bought it on PS4, that it sucks that you can't continue on with the story. But at the same exact time, you're also right of like, how much longer can we still support the PS4? And for the people that bought a PS5, we're still, not to say we're still waiting. I've been eating pretty good, but we know we could be eating better when it comes to having, this is a sole PS5 game. This is a solely next, how long are we going to use next gen game? But nonetheless, like, we want to, most of these people are upgrading, as we see from like the sales figures and all this, to a PS5. So how much longer are we going to really ask folks to go, yeah, put time, resources, and a whole bunch of money in the PS4 version that we obviously see a decline in sales wise, both software and hardware. So you're right. I agree with you there, but I do also agree with you that if you feel burnt, I don't blame you either. You're not overreacting if you're upset by this. That said, Matt Kennedy writes in from the Star. Once upon a time, jumping into all DLC was a no-brainer. Now times, though, time for gaming is short, and there's no shortage of games. Goddamn right. What does Burning Shores need to do to bring back players into the world of Horizon? I loved both entries, don't get me wrong, but after logging about 100 hours into Forbidden West, I'm hesitant to jump back in. There are just so many new games coming out. Or just on the horizon. You see the funny to that? I like it.
It's good.
Thanks, guys. Looking forward to another insightful show. Keep up the stellar work. Well, let's see what I do with this migraine. No, great point. I've always been hesitant about DLC because to me, I'm such a weird gamer, dude. Because, like, for example, I love, Mass Effect 2, but jumping back into it for the Shadow Broker, though the DLC's beloved, I couldn't be bothered because I had like game X, Y, and Z in front of me. So I was just like, I already experienced Mass Effect 2 and I love it. This will always be here if I ever want to come back. But right now I'm busy like with Skyrim or whatever. So I've always been that way too. What the DLC has to do is, I think, we talked about earlier, which is show me what this PS5 can really do. A lot of people, and I don't want to say it on the pod because it is, to me, considered spoilers, which a lot of this I cut out because I thought it could be considered spoiler. But there are, quote unquote, bigger machines that Aloy can fight, and I want to see what you can tear off these machines. I want to see the extra bits of machinery flying off this thing, or the avalanche of machinery coming off this thing when we're fighting it. I want to see, boss fights where it's leveling a city. Like, that's what I want, or buildings. That's what I want to see from this DLC. Something that's going to wow me. I'm just kind of aggravated. We're a month away from this thing and not even a trailer or a gameplay trailer.
That's, yeah. You bring up some strong points as far as I can see. When it comes to DLC, the only times I really jump back into DLC is when it is for a game that I absolutely love. Yep. Zelda Breath of the Wild was one of those games. Cyberpunk 2077 will definitely be one of those games. And I skipped out on Zero Dawn's DLC, but I blame that purely because I already had Forbidden West like loaded, ready to go, and I wanted to further the mainline story for that. So I will eventually get back to it. But I mean, M. Kennedy does bring up a strong point that I think one of the things that you can do to bring people in is with the promise of what next gen hardware can do. Obviously, flying is new in my mind of what's available. So being able to fly and see that world with how lush it is does really make me intrigued. Like, what would they have really created? How could they really make it that worthwhile? I'm very surprised that they haven't really marketed a whole lot to this, because it feels like Sony has been very quiet for all intents purposes, and this is probably one of their strongest IPs, and to let it kind of sneak up on people makes me worried that Sony doesn't want Guerrilla to really like succeed with this DLC, and that maybe the fact that it is going to be a PS5 only is something that they don't want to draw too much attention to, and that they knew that Guerrilla was like wanting to work on this. They wanted to do it. They wanted to get their teeth sunk into that hardware. But Sony knows that this is going to be a big ask, and that it's for a smaller market, and they've got bigger markets to address. Maybe. I don't know. It's hard to know.
I think it's the latter. I think it's like, this is such a, I hate to say minor component, but in the grand scheme of things, a minor component to the overall larger and broader market. But I would argue there's so many Horizon copies out in the wild. I think the rumor has it's around 9 million, that, hey, this is a really awesome thing for them to come out and showcase to people, and to give Forbidden West that second breath by going, hey, look, this DLC's here, and guess what's also in our library of PlayStation Plus Extra? Forbidden West. Isn't this rad? And you can service, folks that way but to me, I hate having the feeling as if Sony doesn't have faith in this thing, or doesn't believe in Guerrilla, or whatever have you, because that's not the case. But you can't help to feel that way when you're seeing the lack of kind of hype for what is one of their bigger IPs. It's disappointing to see. That said, though, once we see the trailer, I bet we're all going to be like, okay, everything's fine. We're going to be all right. But to me, it's still, it's odd that we still haven't seen anything yet.
I think a lot of fans of specific franchises deal with this on a regular basis. Like I know Nintendo fans who are fans of like Star Fox are like shouting and shaking Nintendo, like, why aren't you showing love to my baby?
Yeah. And
this is kind of one of those situations where it's like, this is going to be a big DLC for Horizon. It's going to be the second DLC that they've done for their series. We haven't really seen a whole lot of information on it. They've done the due diligence to give access to anyone who has PS Plus, which make sure you're redeeming these games so you can actually play this. If you're not going to be getting the PS5 anytime soon, you are on the PS4, make sure that you claim it, just even though it's cross compatible, just easier to go with. And it's going to be one of those things where it's like, you want them to really celebrate every single thing that they put out, so that way folks know that it's loved and cherished and going to have a successful future. And not saying that is always kind of a bummer.
Yeah, it is. But again, I'm excited for this. I can't wait to play it. I just want to see more. That said, though, if this comes out along the same time of Jedi Survivor, I'm choosing Jedi Survivor. Are you kidding me? I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. It's going to happen. That said, here's the next big piece of news that dropped literally today. So let's talk about it.
So this was an exclusive. This is the PS5 Pro in development, could release in late 2024, which this is coming to us from Tom Henderson over at Inside Gamer. Thank you for putting this out there, because, man, that's a big story right there. Insider Gaming, which ironically enough, previously reported that a new PlayStation 5 with a detachable disc drive is scheduled to release later this year. It's understood that this new model will phase out the current PS5 to cut down on production and shipping costs. In spite of the widespread reports, this is not the PS5 Pro model. This is, quote, just the beginning of new hardware coming to PlayStation users this generation, end quote, said one source when talking about the detachable disc drive console. As for what the PS5 specs will entail, details are limited. However, a recently published patent by PlayStation architect Mark Cerny, spotted by Onion00048 over on Twitter, suggests that Sony Interactive Entertainment is looking to, quote-unquote, accelerate ray tracing performance in video games. Just like with the PS4 to the PS4 Pro, we can generally guess pretty confidently, that's a statement right there, that the PS5 Pro will have increased visuals, performance, and speeds. But as for leaked details, we'll have to wait until a later date to release those. Insider Gaming understands that the next generation of PlayStation, the PS6, is unlikely to release.
Too soon.
I know, right?
I want to hear it.
The PS6, which does not roll off the tongue, I'm sorry, is likely to release until at least 2028. This would put current generation consoles' release schedule in line with its predecessors.
So Ace Insane writes, just like you can too if you head on over to @PS Trophy Room on Twitter, or you join our lovely Discord with hundreds of amazing folks in there, and you get to ask your questions each and every Wednesday. Ace writes, hey guys, with the PlayStation 5 Pro rumors circulating, do you guys think that this is something Sony should be focusing on? In previous generations, we'd be approaching a Pro model announcement, but this cycle has been anything but ordinary. Not to mention many games still release on PS4 and have yet to take full advantage of the current PS5 hardware. Would love to hear your thoughts on this. Logan, I don't understand why we need a Pro version of any of these consoles, to be honest. And even like I'm reading this article, and to me it's more speculation that because the quote is just the beginning of new hardware coming to PlayStation users this generation. To me, that doesn't scream Pro mod. Like nothing here really says Pro model. It's just more iterations on PlayStation 5. To me, I don't think we need it. I think it's completely unwarranted. I think, Ace, what you said is correct. And what we were talking about earlier, it was like, we have yet to see the full power of this, of this station. So like, let's get some juice out of this first before we even talk about a PS5 Pro, because we're still talking about PS4 versions of games. So I don't know about you, man. I just feel like this, I think this article is a little bumpkiss. But I don't see a Pro model happening, especially not in late 2024. I don't know.
All right, well, let's play in the space a little bit. Okay. All right, I got the sandbox, I got the shovel. Ooh. We're gonna get a bucket of water. We're gonna make a sandcastle out of this article, because it is quite a stretch. I would agree that just the beginning of new hardware coming to PlayStation users this generation could mean a plethora of options. It could be different hardware, different colored, a slim model, the disk drive itself, just to add as an additional thing. We still don't really understand like if there's going to be any added functionality for the actual camera that was sold at launch. Like, there's a whole lot of possibility when they say new hardware. What could that actually mean? So when I say that there's probably not going to be a PS5 Pro, I genuinely mean it. But to talk about the PS5 Pro, the consoles right now do still struggle with ray tracing. Like ray tracing is still a thing, and I'm genuinely not aware of whether or not that is a programming thing, if that's just the engine that we're on. Like, we haven't really transitioned into Unreal Engine 5 for most of the companies. I don't know why that seems to be a big issue. I would love to have a console that could at least run 4K 60 frames on a regular basis. Like, I hate having those caveats that we can't get balanced and performance, or like performance and what's the other one?
Performance, I can't think and like fidelity.
Yeah. Thank you. We haven't gotten past the idea that there is a fidelity mode and a performance mode. Why can't those just be the same things? Just one mode that has everything. So when I think of like what a PS4 or a PS5 Pro could be, I hope that it would push it a little bit closer to that, because I still think a lot of us want to not have to choose between performance or fidelity. Yeah. And if a PS5 Pro gets us closer to that, then I'm okay with that. But that's like, pie in the sky looking for this kind of thing. Whatever they do, they would definitely need to make sure that whatever the PS5 Pro is, that it supports the exact same memory that is accessible for the PS5. Like you have to be able to move your PS5 memory card over to the PS5 Pro, and genuinely needs to be something that is smaller in size. But I can't imagine, like we were talking about this.
Go for it.
I wanted to have some black plates for my PS5.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to have different colors. And we were talking about this and I was like, buddy, I don't want to spend $70 on these. Are there better options out there? And you're like, oh yeah, there's what is it, D brand?
Yep.
Has some for like 50. And I'm like, we're talking like maybe like a 30. Is there like a 30 that I could do?
Like
like
35 maybe.
Go a little bit lower with these plates. So I genuinely just sit here and I think like, I feel like I've barely gotten into this generation. And I think COVID had a lot to do with this. I think COVID really stumped a lot of manufacturers on how to be able to produce products and get it out there for people to jump into. So I would love if we just kind of pump the brakes a little bit. We said, you know what? I would love to have a PS5 Pro. I think the increase in performance that it could be would be fantastic. But I don't feel like I've really lived with my PS5 long enough to be able to really enjoy and savor it and think like, God, I wish I was talking about how slow this stupid thing was.
Yeah.
Because it's been so long and we haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah. No, I feel like the hardware has matched, like, it's kind of matched the price tag a bit to me, at least. Like, I feel like I get a lot out of my PS5 that I feel like my PS4 didn't at that time, right? Like, I feel the Pro, the Pro was a justified purchase for the 4. And I think or upgrade for the 4. And I just don't see that yet with the PS5 because, again, I'm working with a migraine here, folks. Because to me, we still haven't scratched the surface. You're right. Like, we're still working with games that are on Unreal 4, right? Like, we're starting to see games come out on Unreal Engine 5. Like, we're still, I feel like, in the beginning stages where, no, I don't think PS6 is anywhere in the forefront. Like, to me, I think this generation lasts a bit longer because of lockdown and all that stuff. So to me, I don't find this happening in the slightest. I do, and I am kind of curious of what new hardware can they be talking about. Yeah, it could be something as simple as like a new hard drive or whatever have you, like something small and simple, but it could be something small and cool, like a Vita 2, right? Ooh. Like something streamable. Like the success of the Switch has gotten, and you see it outwardly with Xbox to start looking at mobile in a different way. It'd be really cool to see if PlayStation thought the same and going, oh yeah, I mean, we've partnered with some mobile, peripherals, but why can't we make a mobile peripheral? Like, I'm not saying it's going to be like a portable Vita, but I'm thinking something that like akin to a backbone, right? Like that's what I'm thinking when it comes to new hardware, or something in between of a Steam Deck, right? Like, that's what I'm thinking in terms of new hardware. I'm not thinking Pro. I'm thinking Slim. I'm thinking detachable, disk drives. That's what I'm thinking here, and I think this is a whole lot of nothing. That said, though, Drellish writes in, I know the speculations are that the PlayStation 5 Pro to hit at the end of 2024. My question is, what are the chances of us experiencing a PlayStation 5 Slim? Could we get a Pro in a Slim version, thus not a fatter console, but more refined and streamlined, away from the iconic bulky look? Or is that characteristic PS5 look with the interchangeable faceplates here to stay until we get a PS6 in 2028? Let's calm down with the future talk. All right, your thoughts? No, I definitely think their detachable drive is a thing that's happening. We're gonna find it, May, June, whenever that showcase is. But when I think of, again, I don't think of a Pro hitting in 2024. That doesn't make sense to me. I mean, and it just comes naturally over time. These boards get shrunken smaller and smaller. So I do think, maybe around the time 2024 hits or 2025, we do see slimmer PS5s, but they're always going to be reminiscent of the design that we have right here, right now. Like the PS3. had a metamorphosis towards the end of its lifespan, but it was always this weird cylinder attached to a rectangle look. So to me, even with the PS4, look at the PS4 Pro design. We'll just put another layer on it, right? Make it a little even slantier. It still was the same design that we kind of know and I especially love. So I don't know. What do you think here, man? You think we're getting a Slim?
I would like to see a Slim. Even if a Slim does happen, I still think that the same design aesthetic will transition, because we saw that with the PSVR 1 was the start of that. And then they kind of moved it into the PS5 and then, of course, the PSVR 2. So I think that if I were Jim Ryan, I would probably say, let's drag this generation out for as long as we possibly can. Let's really turn this into the next PS2. Let's make sure that the PS5 is synonymous with everyone has one, just like the Nintendo Switch. Nintendo Switch is 6 years old. Like, they're still selling the original Nintendo Switch. Like, it's insane that they are still able to bundle that thing.
And
in
it's
with Mario
selling
Kart.
like hotcakes. And even like I put in Metroid Prime Remaster, and it made a really weird noise when I opened up the little Nintendo cartridge,
Help
flap.
me.
No, it said something even better. It's like, kill me. It's like, what? Kill me, Dad. All I dream of is nightmares. Like, it was like really vivid.
Are you okay, little buddy?
But yeah, I mean, when it comes to like again, I think we're going to still see the same aesthetic. I don't think the PS5's that a very fanboy take. I get it. I'm middle-aged and fat, but I don't think that that console is that obtuse. Like, I think both consoles are kind of obtuse looking. So when people are like, "Oh, the PS5 is so ugly," I'm like, It's fine. Let's stop overreacting.
All right.
Like,
You're getting a little fanboy here.
I know. I'm literally the only one going, this is fine. I don't know what everybody's talking about.
I like the curves.
I like the curves.
So pretty.
The flaps.
I like to hold it.
All right. Bertos Maximus. I'm working with a migraine here, okay? Bertos Maximus writes, do you think, and I want this to be, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. Bertus Maximus writes, do you think that the PlayStation 5 Pro could really give better performance than a PS5 currently does? And if so, in what areas? Oh, I think we touched on this a little bit, but like ray tracing, 60 FPS, like, I'm right there with you, dude. I'm tired of having to choose between fidelity when I want to take a couple of pictures and then snap it back to performance. Like, I would love to live in a future where that gap is bridged much better. That said, M9 Prime writes, hey guys, when it comes to the PS5 Pro talk, do you think we need a Pro? Okay, we might have touched on this too. This generation, especially within the year, if you had to choose, here's where it comes different. If you had to choose between a PS5 Slim or PS5 Pro, which would you prefer? So if you had to choose right now, you're Shuhei Yoshida. You are in the shoes of the mastermind himself. You get to decide, right? PS5 Slim or Pro. Where do you go with, Mister? Oh, I'm the fanboy because I think it's okay. I think I know where you're going.
So like I want to circle back and not try to repeat myself, but I do think that they could 100% eke out more consoles with going with the PS5 Slim. If you asked me which I would choose, like personally, I would probably sell my PS5 and put the money towards a PS5 Pro.
I always like the stronger, more faster thing, no matter what. Even with like my phone here, I always had to get the faster version. Why? I don't know. My capitalism trained my brain that way. I don't know. So I would also go with PS5 Pro. And again, I genuinely don't care what it looks like because it sits behind my TV anyway, and I barely look at it. So to me,
that's why you're. Oh, God.
It's on the side. It's fine. It's right here.
That's why you don't care about how it looks. I have to look at mine like sideways every single time I want to go play at something, and I'm like, it feels weird. Oh, I will.
Everybody complained about the notches on the iPhone. You know what? Now every phone has a goddamn notch. You know.
Yeah, it still looks stupid though.
It looks fine. It looks fine. They call it an island now. It's great. All right. talking about islands that only one person's going to be on eventually, it's time to talk about our next story here, sir.
Microsoft is signing deals to bring Activision games to even more services, according to George Yang over at IGN. Microsoft has signed yet another 10-year deal. Apparently 10 years is the magic number, with a cloud gaming provider. This time it's with Ubitus, I think is how you say it, which is Ubitus. This is what my father did to me. You beat us.
Oh, damn. Logan, you went dark. I was just trying to do a Wilford Brimley thing. You bring him here.
Sorry, no, I love my dad. He wasn't. That's not all. Ubitus, a provider based in Tokyo, Japan. On Twitter, Xbox's Phil Spencer said, Microsoft and Ubitus, a leading cloud gaming provider. I got it stuck on my head now.
I can't get it out. I can't get it out
of my head. No,
everybody complained at Captain Logan for that dark joke. It wasn't me this time, all right?
Has signed a 10-year partnership to stream Xbox PC games as well as Activision Blizzard titles after the acquisition closes. Our commitment is to give more players more choices. End quote.
I'll say the name this time. Ubitus. Go for it.
You beat it. Is most known for working with many publishers on cloud versions of games for Nintendo Switch, including The Forgotten City, which is a good game, Control, an amazing game, A Plague Tale Requiem, an even better game, Resident Evil Village, which I love, scares me to death. Earlier this week, Microsoft announced that it signed a 10-year deal with Boosteroid, a cloud gaming service based in Ukraine, in order to bring Xbox and PC games to more streaming providers. This would include Activision Blizzard games if its merger with Microsoft goes through. Microsoft is doing all it can to assuage regulators' fears of anti-competitiveness within the gaming industry. Most recently, Microsoft signed 10-year deals with Nintendo and GeForce Now to make Activision Blizzard games more available on other platforms.
Ooh, Logan.
It's getting cutthroat out there.
It's getting dicey. It's getting dicey out here.
Blood in the water, sir.
You know, a lot of people, like, there are signs where people are like, oh, yeah, is what I've been saying. Xbox is trying to make deals with everybody to undercut what Sony's main complaints are. PlayStation's trying to undercut Microsoft by trying to show past events of how they've maybe reneged on some offers here or removed or stopped production on some games on the Bethesda side. They're all just trying to do what they can to earn the buck at the end of the day. They're lawyers, at least. But it is interesting, this play that Microsoft's recently done, where it's just like, look, we're signing deals with all of our competitors, or quote-unquote competitors in the cloud space. This is not about competition. In fact, we're bringing more games in more places. Now, I don't care what you feel or what your thoughts are at the end of the day about this Activision Blizzard deal. I want to know. This is what I really want to know, and I asked Kyle this. This is the one question that's been lingering in my brain. Do we think we get to a point here, Logan, where Microsoft offers the same thing to Sony in terms of we already have them offering Call of Duty, but do you see a future where Microsoft goes, okay, here's the goddamn kitchen sink. Our Xbox cloud games on PlayStation. They don't run natively. It's all based on the power of the cloud. But your Bethesda games, Starfield, Halo, whatever have you, Xbox Game Pass games are here via the cloud on PlayStation. Do we see that future, or is this market truly too competitive? Because if Microsoft's deal is like, hey, PlayStation already has the console market on lock. Same with Nintendo. We don't see them as, true competitors in a cutthroat sense. We want to coexist, bring more games to more gamers, all that nonsense or talk. I have a migraine. I didn't mean nonsense. Please, fanboys, don't attack. Do you see them going, here, play a Halo on a PlayStation? I don't care.
Yes, I do.
Do we have that feature?
I think that future is inevitable. And the reason for it is because I don't think that Microsoft views Sony and Nintendo as competitors for screens. I think they see Google and Amazon and Apple as the people that are competing for people's screens. I think Microsoft, and I've seen some rumors of going around about this. It's hard to say how accurate those are, but I think Microsoft wants to get to a point where the Microsoft Store is on parity and on respect wise with like Steam, which is why they probably have such a good deal with them. Like probably why they enjoy them is they want to bring the games to everyone. They constantly say this commitment to giving more players more choices. And I think they genuinely mean that. I think that the thing that is stopping that is the idea of a brand recognition and a respect for loyalty to a system that I see with Sony. I think Sony wants to curate their content and showcase it the way that they have in the past that really says these are the best experiences you're ever going to get with any of the consoles out there when it comes to video games. And I think Microsoft is saying we have a lot of experiences that are available for a large plethora of people through Game Pass, and we just want people to sub to it.
Yeah. God damn, that was a great point. I think it's not like archaic thinking of Sony to think that, because their model is we sell this rectangle, people buy this rectangle. It's really important to us because we make money on this rectangle and this ecosystem that's inside of it. And by Microsoft, going outside and trying to branch ahead of them of just being the app on screens, it kind of makes those rectangles less and less relevant, which means they make them obsolete. And so they look at Microsoft as the threat in the nearer future than they'd like to admit. And I think Microsoft views things like the Apple TV, things like Netflix, things like the Fire Stick as the competitor, because I think Microsoft's looking at it of we're in a war for people's attention. So we saw Netflix talk about how Fortnite hurt their streaming numbers. They blamed Fortnite for some of their streaming numbers back in the day. And I see Microsoft going, we're tired of the Netflix comparisons. We're competing against them in some type of level. And so I think that's why Microsoft's signing all these deals, because they don't care where you're playing their games. As long as you're playing their games, they're going to be making money off of it. So, when people are like, oh, well, what happens at the end of this deal? Is there going to be bad blood? They don't care. If there's money involved, they're going to make money. So if there's a good deal for them, they're going to make that deal. And again, if you're PlayStation, you're Jim Ryan, you want to kill this deal because it scares you, because it changes the way your company has to do business. But I also feel like there's been multiple times. There's a great Twitter thread by, I think it's like Tweaktown, I believe, like editor-in-chief there, of just like Microsoft disrupted the industry numerous times, right? You're talking like Xbox Live, right? You're talking like the Summer Indie Arcade, Summer of Arcade, whatever. Like you've seen them disrupt the game multiple times, and you've seen Nintendo and Sony adapt to that change. So it's not like Sony's incapable of adapting. They just want the status quo the way it is, because right now the status quo benefits them the most.
Oh yeah. 100%.
And that's what it is at the end of the day. So to me, I do live in this optimistic future, and maybe it's just the migraine talking, that I will be getting what I want. Gears of War on a PlayStation sooner than I think. Will it be the best version of Gears? Probably not, but that will suffice if I get, haptic and DualSense capabilities. That's all I care about.
If you ever wanted to understand what Microsoft's motive is, go to, especially if you're an Xbox connoisseur, if you have Xbox Game Pass, do me a favor, head over to Bing.com.
Don't do it.
Search Halo Infinite.
Oh no.
Pair up your controller to your computer and play Halo Infinite through Bing.
Can you really do that?
You search Halo Infinite, there's a button that says connect a controller to play now.
There you go.
That's what Microsoft wants. Microsoft wants to give you access everywhere. That's what they want to do. If you have any question about what their motives are, it's not about destroying PlayStation. It's not about ruining the ecosystem for gamers out there. It's about getting players subscribed to a service that they can access anywhere, and then bringing deals and games to it so that others can enjoy it. And if anything, I would say it's done a fantastic job of pushing Sony to reinvent the wheel when it comes to their service with their streaming service. And PS Plus has gotten significantly cooler.
I mean, we're about to talk about all those cool and awesome things that we're going to be getting from PlayStation Plus. So I'll just squeeze this in here now. It's time for Flash News. Gotta go fast. And you're right. PlayStation Plus has gotten significantly better. It's time to bring up the first piece of Flash News. April's first PlayStation Plus game has already been revealed. Is Behavior's developer Meet Your Maker. The post-apocalyptic first-person building game will be released on April 4th, when it will also be claimable via PlayStation Plus. The game, which sees players build and defend outposts against other users, will be available to essential subscribers on both PS5 and PS4. See, look at it. You can't escape PS4. It just comes. Meet Your Maker is also scheduled to release on PC, Xbox Series consoles on the same date. Now, on top of all that good news, I like a good free game here and there. PS Plus Extra March lineup drops, and every game here available to play on the 21st of March. Tchia, which is going to be a new game for extra subscribers, out on the 21st. Ghostwire Tokyo with a free Spiders Thread DLC content will be also available on April 12th, but the game will be able to play on March 21st. This is the DLC again, migraine. Uncharted Legacy of Thieves, Immortals, Phoenix Rising, Rainbow Six Siege Extraction, Life is Strange, True Colors. Oh, please go play True Colors. And Life is Strange 2, the full game. Dragon Ball Z, Carrot Cake, Street Fighter V Collector's Edition, the Untitled Goose Game, Final Fantasy Type 0 HD, Rage 2, Neo, The World Ends With You, and Haven. Everybody going, oh wow, this is a great list of gosh dang games. Like Tchia, that's awesome. Uncharted Legacy of Thieves collection, that's awesome. Immortals Phoenix Rising is such a sleeper. Go play that. A lot of love here. And again, PlayStation Plus changed. Why? Because Xbox pushes them. This is what companies do, right? Like, look at PlayStation Plus. It came to rival Xbox Gold, and to me it was a better deal. And then Xbox Gold answered with, please hold the laughter, Xbox Gold game monthly games, right? Because PlayStation was giving away a game or two every month. Like, they always constantly one up each other, and this is, you're seeing in real time Sony readjust their strategy to meet the moment and servicing their players how they can at that moment. So it seems like people are really loving this service, or starting to. And there's also, like, if I'm not mistaken, I got Ridge Racer, the PSP version, and Splinter Cell as well, the PSP version that has trophy support. So, I mean, last month and this month are any indicators, PlayStation fans, we're going to start eating pretty damn good. So, love to see it.
This is something that I think Sony has really stepped up and moved forward ahead of Xbox on. I've constantly been thinking it and saying it to most of my friends that Xbox is doing good with Game Pass, but they really need to justify Xbox Gold if they want to continue having that service. It is long overdue to start moving a lot of those Xbox One games over to that service. And everything that comes out is just little indie games here and there. And every time PlayStation Plus comes out with their essentials or their extra or their premium, I'm constantly thinking, like, man, this is fantastic.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I hear on a lot of Xbox shows going, it's the Games of Gold month. Do we even want to talk about it? It's like, I get it, guys. I get it. So, listen, it is what it is. I think they tried to push people onto the gold when they tried to, or out of gold into Game Pass when they tried to up the price. That's what I genuinely think. And now they're kind of rethinking, how do we push people from gold to Game Pass. And I think it's by just making Game Pass such an irresistible offer at this point, at least. All right.
Yeah.
The next bit of Flash news, The Last of Us season finale broke its own viewership record despite competing with the Oscars. 8.2 million people tuned in to watch the show's final episode. It also outpaced Game of Thrones' average concurrent viewer count of 30 million. I think, what is it? Or 29 million. I think Last of Us edged it out with like 30.2 million average concurrent per episode. Monster hit, and it's crazy how many things were in front of it, like how many special shows, like the Oscars. I think what was it, like the Grammys in January. Like there were so many. The goddamn Super Bowl. Like there were so many obstacles, and yet it still overcame. And to see the love that everybody's showing, shows that making a good video game adaptation.
Yeah,
it's possible.
It's amazing to see this and the Halo TV show on parity with how good they are. It's been fascinating to see just like how Sony's really stepped up to what Halo put out on Paramount.
I like you, Logan. You're a little crazy for me, man. Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart could be the next PlayStation PC port. This comes from PlayStation Lifestyle, by the way. A new job listing for a UX/UI engineer at Nixxes has found by a user on the Game Leaks and Rumors Reddit wants potential candidates with quote-unquote experience in using coherent middleware. This is in reference to Coherent Labs, which offers or describes itself as the quote-unquote only professional gaming UI middleware in the world. End quote. One of the games that Coherent Labs features on its official website is Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, alongside with Control Ultimate Edition, PUBG, Minecraft, and many more. Putting two pieces of information together, it's reasonable to believe that Rift Apart is Nixxes' next PC port. Probably. I would like to see that be the case. But also, Rift Apart, remember, is that special SSD. So how are they going to find workarounds to make that work? Or if that was all just marketing jargon. Sometimes us gamers, we fall for the marketing jargon. That said, though, more ways of playing Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, the better, because it is my favorite Ratchet and Clank, next to Up Your Arsenal. Dude, it's so good. I love those titles. So
funny.
That could be the next one. I hope so. And then
That'd
hopefully
cool.
It comes to PlayStation Plus, in the near future. Who knows?
That'd be awesome.
Last bit of a Flash news. Naughty Dog's Neil Druckmann says Naughty Dog has chosen its next game, but doesn't confirm The Last of Us Part 3. On an episode of Kinda Funny spoiler cast, friend of the show, Neil Druckmann said, "I know the fans really want Last of Us Part 3. I hear about it all the time. All I can say is that we're already ready on to our next project, and the decision has already been made. I can't say what it is, but the process we went through, there was a lot of consideration on a lot of different things. We picked the thing that was the most excited for us to work on." He added, "At the end of every project, we purposely explore several different projects. Some of them might be a sequel and a bunch of them new ideas. Then we feel, where do our passions lie?" He also talked about how, even entering Naughty Dog at the role he was in, Naughty Dog had the carte blanche to do different things. That's why The Last of Us even exists. So let's be clear here, guys, gals, people of all ages. Last of Us show came out, HBO, it's a hit, right? They say that, hey, there's going to be multiple seasons of Part 2. You bet your dollar they're working on Last of Us Part 3. They
Really?
want to,
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no way Neil is going to close out the series with the TV show. I think he wants to tell the story his way with Part 3 and then have the HBO team work up on the adaptation, for sure. I also think Naughty Dog's probably working on multiple projects, not just Last of Us at this point as well.
Man, that's an interesting take there, because
Why?
Well, because I think that would kind of be shown as succumbing to the marketing and the higher ups. Like, oh, Last of Us HBO show is so successful. You guys really need to kick out that multiplayer, and we need to get that part 3 in place because we're gonna have a lot to cover as soon as the next 2 seasons or next 3 seasons of Last of Us Part 2 are finished up. So we want to make sure we got something in the hopper ready to go. Yeah. And that sounds like such a cynical corporate view to have that it makes too much sense.
Yeah.
So I kind of hope that it's something new.
I do. Listen, I really hope it's something new. But I do think if Naughty Dog's working on something, I do think it's probably 2 different IP. So I do think they're working on a Last of Us because Neil wants to finish that story he's told. Even when we're taking a look at how he's making the narrative for his next game, right? He's trying to make it like a TV show's writer's room. And I think that's probably to rein him in a bit and to get different ideas because he took a lot of inspiration from his experiences on the show. So to me, listen, I would love them to work on a new and different thing. I just think that Neil wants to finish this game. I think it's a 3-parter. I think he wants to do it on his terms. And I think the team is probably down on that idea as well, because if you're at Naughty Dog, you probably signed up not just for the pedigree, but because you want to work on Uncharted and Last of Us stuff.
I could see that too. I could see him being so in love with what went on with the making of the show that it really sparked off a whole bunch of really cool ideas. Yeah. And he brought them to the table. He gave an earnest look at all the other projects that were presented, and decided that they felt the most passionate with closing out the trilogy and making the third part 3. I have no clue what part 2 is like, so I can't imagine what they would do for part 3 because I have no clue. But I could honestly see that as a viable take as well too. It just seems convenient given the success of the show, and I think that's the easy thing to kind of move to, which is why I always like when companies as good as Naughty Dog decide to shift away from what they know would be an easy buck.
Fair. Hey, listen, I want to know what y'all think down below. You think I'm right? They're going to take the safe and easy way out, or you think they're going to do something crazy like Logan here? Let me know. That said, it's time for our segment, Quick Play. Now, y'all know how this game works. It's simple. We each have a game that we're going to be talking about, and we have 1 minute to talk about it. And if it is that interesting to us, we'll ask questions and extend the time. And this week is a little bit easier because we both been playing the same game, Resident Evil 4 Remake. Logan, I want to know what your thoughts are on the Resident Evil 4 Remake. And walking in, are you a big Resident Evil fan? Is 4 your favorite? If so, let me know all about it.
So, okay, I'm going to start off the timer. Got the timer going now. Go. All right. So, I've only ever played Resident Evil 1 through 3, and 0 technically. I'm a huge fan of the Resident Evil franchise, having never played 4, 5, 6, 7, or most of 8, or the Revelation games or any other stuff like that. But I really love the franchise. I think the IP's amazing. I played through the demo and I died a bunch of times, but I played through it a couple times and genuinely had a good time with it. It's such a beautiful game. Even though horror games nowadays scare the living frickin' out of me. So I sorry, I was holding the phone and I was like, oh, I gotta get to the B button or he's gonna have to bleep this out later. But games like that really do mess with my anxiety. And unfortunately, it's the thing that prohibits me from being able to enjoy a lot of really good horror games like Dead Space, like Village and 7 and stuff like that. But this game was fantastic. So I really enjoyed the demo.
All right. Time. Now I'm going to time myself. Having played Resident Evil 4 for the first time during lockdown, I don't have the love for Resident Evil 4 or the nostalgia for it. But I felt while playing it that this is the Resident Evil fans' Dead Space remake. This felt amazing. And I think the reason why it felt so great was not only is the combat still remaining true to form to what the game was when it first came out, just allowing smart changes like the lack of quick time events and making it so you have a cool dodge and parry system. But the one thing that it did really well is the haptics. You know, we always talk about on the show how much we love the DualSense haptics and, you know, the little adaptive triggers. Here, it's highlighted so incredibly well. And you know what? I'm just going to extend the time. I'm a real piece of shit. Because honest to goodness, that was the star of the show for me, was what was coming out of the controller, both the feeling, the tension of the adaptive triggers, and, you know, the speaker of the chainsaw, right? Like, everything to me felt like an elevation of mechanics before, and not a complete rethink of it. So my time with the Resident Evil 4 trailer or demo was strictly, I'm not a big demo person, but even for me, there was, I can't wait to go back to this next week. It's going to be a ton of fun. So maybe I will have that love for Resident Evil 4 after this game, because that demo, man, oh man, it changed me. It changed me. Loved it.
Can I just say, because I played through the demo on Xbox, I didn't get the benefit of the adaptive trigger, because I love the DualSense. I think the DualSense is probably one of the best controllers I've ever touched.
I love how you're pandering, and I love this.
No, genuinely.
You know where you're on.
I love my Xbox Elite controller. I have, it is like within reach. I have my Halo Infinite Xbox Elite Series controller. I genuinely do think that the DualSense is doing something that no other controller is doing with the haptics, with the adaptive triggers. I think it's, I did not believe it at first until I got my hands on it, and now I believe. So I think I need to go and actually play through that with the DualSense, because playing it on Xbox, I didn't experience any of that. It was just a very straightforward plain game. You know, it had normal rumble, nothing too special. But now you've got me curious, because I do really like when I'm playing Hogwarts Legacy, the spells and stuff that I hear coming through the speaker on the controller really do add atmosphere to Dude, what I'm doing in the game.
Real talk, go play this demo, because you're gonna see what I'm saying. Like, even like the footsteps, it's not heavy-handed either. It's implemented in such as a smart way. This might be some of my favorite haptics so far, just the brief little time I've gotten to play with it. It's great. That said, because we're running a little bit long, I do want to answer Nagachaka's question here. Sorry, Luke Snore. And I'm sorry you had to deal with him on a weekly basis, Logan. But Nagachaka writes, what do you think Resident Evil 4 Remake will score on Metacritic or OpenCritic, and why is it a 100? I mean,
Capcom doesn't miss. Their games are fantastic. If it doesn't score a 10 out of 10, I'll be very disappointed in whatever they change to move it away from whatever the it being a masterpiece as that's the normal original form.
I mean, listen, I think the original is like a 94, 96 around there. But also understand there was far less review sites at that time, and there's a whole lot of nostalgia and love that this game has to, it needs to have, right? Yeah. So I just think with the more reviewers out there, the nostalgia people have for it, it's going to either hit or it's going to miss a little bit. So I think it's going to fall somewhere in the 90 category. I think it's still going to do really great, but I think it's going to be, you know, a few notches down, just because of the sake of maybe what they change isn't, you know, people aren't too necessarily keen on. That said, go for it, Logan.
I think the things that will ding it will purely come down to performance and not content.
Absolutely. All right, Logan, are you holding on to something?
Yes.
Prepare the drop. Here are the latest steals and deals headed to the PlayStation storefront. March 14th, Happy Busetti on PS4, Legends of Heroes Trails of Azure on PS4, The Wreck on PS5, PS4, Vernal Edge on PS5, PS4, March 15th, Blade of Darkness on PS5, PS4, Kung Fury Street Rage, the Ultimate Edition on PS4, Tricky Thief on PS5, PS4. See, look at PS5, PS4. Let's drop the PS4. Let's be brave. Wolson, The Lords of Mayhem on PS5, PS4. March 16th, Alice Gear Aegis CS, Concerto of I got it.
Simulatrix.
Something like on PS5. Anno, 1800 console edition PS5 Gorn on PSVR 2. Gorn, let's go. Oh my god, I might get that. Post Void on PS5 PS4. The Dark Pictures Switchback on PSVR 2. I could say that I am currently playing it and that we'll have my thoughts next week. That's all I will share. All right, good. March 17th, Peppa Pig, The World of Adventures on PS5, PS4, The Guys on PS5, PS4, and WWE 2K23 on PS5 and PS4. All right, y'all, since we're running a little bit long in the tooth, I got a few questions here, and maybe we'll save a few for the post-show. So, that said, it's time for the Sony Pony Express. Yeehaw! DJ Hercules 89 writes, what's your opinion on Destiny 2 Root of Nightmares raid being completed in less than 3 hours? A lot of people saying the mechanics were leaked prior to the raid's release, so they can say, or so can they say it's even a legit win. I've heard about this. Logan, you're a big Destiny guy.
Yeah.
What do you think about this raid being completed so early? Let me hear your thoughts.
Okay, so for those that don't know, I've already beaten Roots of Nightmare, or the Root of Nightmares, and it took us about 5 hours off of competition mode. Okay. And a lot of that was just kind of getting things squared away, getting an understanding. It was the first run through. I think with this being completed in less than 3 hours for a contest mode, it's kind of a bummer to the diehards out there, like the streamers who put their lives into this. With that being said, this is going to be one of the most accessible raids for players of Destiny 2 that I've ever played through. And I played through just about all of them. So, if that's the case, then it seems like Destiny is trying to make their game more accessible. Should it have been harder for contest mode? Yes, I do think so. Okay. But then again, I also think that if people got the mechanics prior to the raid's release, all of that is all on, it's all speculation. It's all hearsay. There's very few ways you'll be able to ever prove that, right? And as far as it being a legit win, if they beat it, they beat it. If unless you can prove that they actually knew the mechanics.
Does.
Yeah. If he does, he dies. It was very not sensitive. So I think that it's a bummer to see it done so quickly for the people that work so hard on that, for folks that are so dedicated to build crafting, to understanding how to play through raids, things like that. They were hoping for a challenge, and this wasn't nearly as challenging for them. But to say that the win wasn't legit really does kind of spit in the face of the people that spent their time working through that, even if they understood how to get the mechanics, because eventually they're going to figure out what the mechanics are. Yeah. It's just a matter of whether or not they kind of understand it, but it's still hard to execute. I knew what the mechanics were going into the fight. It's still hard to execute it, especially in contest mode.
So you think this is a Live Strong bracelet situation? Where it's like, hey, you earned the bracelet, but understand the man cheated, right? Is this what you're talking about?
Even that, I still if they want the win, let them have the win, because they did win. But okay. I mean, it's hard to know. Like it's generally just hard to know. Like, did they cheat? If you can prove that they cheat,
this is a Deflategate situation.
A little bit closer, probably.
Okay, fair enough. Kevin Ainsworth writes in, can you play a game, quote unquote, wrong? For example, I'm not a big open world fan. However, I got Horizon Zero Dawn free through PS Plus, so I played just the story. Then I was given a free copy of Forbidden West, so again, I played just the story. I don't mean I did some side quests. I literally ran the golden marker to the golden marker and just did the story. I've been told I've played the game, quote unquote, incorrectly. Thoughts? My friends, am I a psychopath in hiding? Ainsworth, listen, you just need a job. You're beating too many games. I'm now siding with Sean Capri. I'm sorry. He's like, I've already played through 90 games. Well, if you're playing through Golden Path, of course you're going to play 90 games. No, you're not. Jokes aside, you're not playing a game wrong. You're playing the game you want to play it. Then you're playing the game right, as far as I'm concerned. So tell all those, people bullying you to buzz off. All right. Mr. Batman's orders. Yeah.
I
Uh,
agree.
the Green Guerrilla Gamer writes, "Sup, boys." So, okay, so nobody else is talking about it yet, so let's just bring it up. The Suicide Squad has been delayed again. Well, not yet, not officially, not yet. First, they said it was just delayed until later in the year, and now rumors say it's been delayed into 2024. But whatever the case, I'm not happy about it. I won't dive deep on it, as I've been spoken about it before. I'm not upset at the devs in the slightest. What does bother me, though, is that I'm under the impression that this game got delayed because everyone and their grandma got on their Twitter high horse and lost their shit about a game that honestly looks fine. It doesn't need to be the next Elden Ring, and that brings me to my question: are people being too picky? Does everyone just expect a game to just be this magnificent work of art straight out of the gate and appreciating something different? I'm not saying that I'm a big fan of the live service model, either though at least for, it's cosmetic purposes only, but the combat looks fine. I don't mind the Borderlands approach either because those games were a ton of fun. The characters look freaking awesome and the story has me intrigued, especially considering the pedigree behind it. Sorry. Okay. Unless there is a serious problem, can we please just let them make their game? What do you think? I think I have a migraine and words got real twisted up at the end for me.
You did good.
Oh, thanks, man. I try. I think. Look, the dev's getting more time if this delay is accurate, because they have yet to come out and say that it is or isn't. Is good. It gives them more time to make their game the way that they want it, right? That being said, how much time are you giving them? Is it a full-blown year? Like, if people didn't like it, and maybe even, internal tests showed and it pulled bad, how much time do you actually, are you able to actually give them to give them enough time to change the things that were the God honest complaint? Because if people's main complaint was, oh yeah, there's these weird purple tumors on tanks and helicopters that were dumb, things look too bullet spongy, okay, that's fine. But how much, on paper, it seems like an easy change, but how much work does that go to actually fix and address those things? That said, I think the game looked fine, but look, I'm also here to say I'm in the minority because a lot of people on Twitter like to yell at things. So to me, even though I believe Twitter's not a real place, and just because people yell about something doesn't mean it's fact, it seems like they've counted the beans and said there might be something here. I don't know. Logan, your thoughts?
I'm gonna say apologies to those that listen to both shows here, but I'm gonna kind of what I said on Xbox Expansion Pass, which was I believe this game will get pushed to 2024. It was late in the tooth before we started to actually see actual gameplay for this. I think that they are making the game they want to make. I think they are just wanting to make sure that they understand how to better market this game, because right now they have not been showing what I think a lot of people want, which is the boss battles between the Justice League. It's called Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. I don't think that they've really shown us what that is going to look like. Yeah. I'm a fan of live service games. I love paying one price for a game, and then if I want additional content or if I want cosmetics without having to pay a full-on price, I love dedicating myself to that game, putting the time in, and getting the cosmetics through a game pass or getting through a season pass that has like the same amount of currency that is in it that it costs, so I can just put that money right back into another bunch of cosmetics that I didn't have to pay for twice. So it being a live service game isn't what I think people wanted, because I think people are oversaturated and time is more the concern as opposed to the quality of the game. That being said, I think this game has some flaws as far as how I feel the characters are. I don't know that I want to be King Shark double jumping, dashing through the sky to get to another rooftop. I think I would rather...
I want to be King Shark.
Would you like to be King Shark doing a bunch of jumps? Or... would you like to have King Shark being the beast that he is and like climbing his way up through along the side of a building?
Both sound pretty cool.
You're good with both.
I'm good with both of them. Easy, please.
Yeah, and honestly, I agree with the Green Gorilla Gamer here. Is not all games have to be Elden Ring, and you can find the fun in whatever game you want, and it doesn't necessarily have to be what everyone else says is the bee's knees. You don't live for the zeitgeist. Live for yourself and play the game that you want. If they're delaying it to 2024, it's because they believe they can improve it, and whatever time they need is the time that they deserve to get, because they've been spending 5 some years on making this game. What's another year?
Hell yeah. To me, yeah, as long as they're getting the time to need to make the game that they want to make, that's all that matters to me. That being said, though not everything needs to be Elden Ring, we do expect Rocksteady to come out swinging with something that is substantial because of the pedigree of which they've left behind with those 3 games, the Arkham series. So I understand why people are kind of going, another one of these, but kind of what like Lou Rain writes, I knew Suicide Squad was a live service game, but when it was confirmed, there was outrage. So are we really going to see shock and outrage in the streets when Last of Us multiplayer is revealed to be a live service game too? Or will Naughty Dog get a pass? Gameplay is king. Being the live service don't matter, in my opinion. To me, it's live service doesn't matter if the game is great, right? Like, I've been playing Fortnite for years because the game constantly shifts, changes, and is great time and time again. The same with Sea of Thieves with you and I, right? You have a podcast dedicated to it because the gameplay hooks you. As long as the game is great, I don't think people really care. That being said, if you're just chasing trends, which we've seen a lot of games as service or live service games do, you're going to get that flack, right? And I think that's what people are concerned about when they're looking at a game like the Suicide Squad. So yeah, I do think like a game like The Last of Us multiplayer will get that pass because it is going to be something that is legitimately different from a lot of games that we've seen, if the rumors and speculation are correct that this is a Tarkov-esque experience. So to me, that's what it also boils down to. It's like, cool, they get to make their, get to have more time with their game that they want to make. But if the audiences are genuinely sour, it doesn't matter how much time they're going to get because it's going to get flack no matter what. Though I do think Green Gorilla, you're 100% right. I think people were way too harsh on it because they saw Battle Pass and go, Fortnite has a Battle Pass, and reacted. Actually, this goes into my next bit. Gamers and the media alike are too quick to react to things rather than sit back and go, okay, what does this really mean? We react first and ask questions later. So to me, that's what I think a lot of people are just taking out the mat and jumping to conclusions. That's what I'm thinking here. That said, we do have one question, but I want to layer it in a comment in a review that we got on Apple Podcasts. Now, that said, I don't want to Streisand affect it, but I do feel like this comment needs to be highlighted, the way that we treat people, which goes along into Green Gorilla Gamer's question. And I'm going to be breaking this comment up as I go along because I want to have a little bit of fun. So, again, the last few weeks, we've been asking you guys for your 5-star reviews over on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And we're gracious for every review that comes in, even if it's a 1-star or 2-star. It means the world to us that we have emitted an emotion, a feeling that you feel so strongly about that you want to come on and show us your love or give us your critiques, as long as they're fair and respectful. So, let's talk about this. Here's a 3-star review from I'm Nudie, who writes, just listen, don't watch. Oh boy. The trophy room keeps me entertained while working. I think the guys have something special here, but the fanboyness is obvious. Captain Logan, can you agree? Host of an Xbox podcast on the show of a PlayStation 1?
Yeah, well, if you go read my review, you will see that my review also calls out that your show is amazingly fanboyish, and that it's a must watch.
Fair enough. That said, they go on to say, it's disappointing when you check out the video version and just realize it's just 2 overweight middle-aged guys. Stop. So obviously we have the modern day Sherlock Holmes on the case because he's deduced with the power and the gift of sight that I am indeed overweight. I take offense to the middle-aged part, but I want to apologize to I'm Nudie here right now. I'm not the sexy Latino twink that you thought I was. I apologize if my voice led you astray. I wish I was that sexy Latino twink every day of my life. But modern Sherlock Holmes also says that we have a bias because we're called the Trophy Room, a PlayStation podcast. Jesus Christ. Who still live with their family members. Stop right there. Okay. I do, indeed. My sister-in-law suffers from CRPS, which is a neurological disability where her body thinks she is still in the car crash that she was in 8 years ago. So our family take time out of their day to make sure that she gets all the care and love that she needs. So we drive her to, whatever the case may be. Doctor's appointments, procedures, we cut her food for her, dress her, all that type of stuff. We do it because that's what family does. We're in there for the long haul, and gosh dang it, I want to be an uncle. And looks like the good news is I might be an uncle soon, which is freaking-tastic. Hopefully by the end of the year. That being said, one can't really hold a job. Yikes, I don't even know where that came from. We both have jobs. All right, well, fair enough. Just seems like the real stereotypical gamer type. So it goes along with respect and, jumping to conclusions and being kind to people, right? Because this person was triggered because I said something that they believe is fanboyish. So much so that they wanted to make a comment to me. And when I didn't read it the first time, they kept on refreshing the Apple page to make sure that this comment was number one thing that I saw. So you got the attention you deserved, but was it worth it? Because honestly, I saw this comment, I laughed, I put it on Twitter going, this is kind of like what I have to deal with on a daily. People come tell me all the worst stuff. And a lot of people came up to me going, this is the reason why I stopped. People are way too mean. I can't do this anymore. Luckily, I have thicker skin, and it's purely because I'm a middle-aged, overweight dude. But to me, we have to be nicer to each other, y'all. We got to be more respectful to the developers out there, to the people that are creating content for y'all. At the end of the day, this show is free, and I do it because I love y'all. Because when I think about making the show, I'm thinking about Nagachaka. I'm thinking about Katie. I'm thinking about Kevin Ainsworth. I'm thinking about everybody that participates here and how much people need it. And I say this because Ask What Not Right Why writes, can we show some love to Sean Capri and his decision to practice self-care and putting himself first? I think it's important to highlight how crucial it is. Give ourselves space to be vulnerable and to be completely okay to step back when we need it. Yeah. And I echo this by even taking it one step further. Let's take time out of our week. You don't have to, it could be giving your favorite podcast a 5-star review. It could be just simply putting down a comment on a YouTube video going how much, or displaying how much your content or their content means to you, right? Be nice. Put that energy first and foremost. Put it out there for everybody. Put that positive feels, because reading Guerrilla Gamer's question here, we jump to conclusions. We react way too fast to things and way too strongly to things when we really ought to take a few steps back and going, is this okay? And it's awesome to see my good friend Sean Capri, host of the Xbox Drive, say, you know what? I need to take some me time. And it's easy because the last few weeks, I could say even for me, have been awful in terms of just seeing how we're talking to people across the keyboard. It's like we don't think there's anybody across the screen. It's like everybody else is an NPC. And so like people like I'm Nudie get to say mean things because they can't build the things that we have here. And so they just want to spike the ball and be rude dicks. So I really want to answer that negative energy with positive ones. So if we can leave this week tonight with some good vibes, it is, again, and I echo it, put that good energy out there. Wish, Kyle Stevenson a well wishes as he recovers from his stomach bug. Go out there, wish Sean Capri the best as he goes and soul searches. Even if it means you go say something nice to Luke Lore, host of the Expansion Pass, go ahead, do it. I'll allow you to say that you think the show's a banger or a sweet num-num, as long as it's positive, kind. Please, for the love of God, be better than I'm Nudie, who seems like is real Rudy. And the funny thing is too, like when I put that, when I put that post out there, people came back again with the positive love and all that stuff. But the DMs going, yeah, I know that guy. And they're literally the worst. Welcome to the elite club. It's like, cool. So I'm not alone. And I think we got to air out those grievances a little bit more as we create content online. Understand that we're dealing with perfect strangers. You don't know what's going on behind the scenes here. I open up pretty clearly about it when I can, but some things are mine. Like, I didn't want to share to y'all that, yeah, there's a person in my home that, has a little bit more needs than others, but that's her journey that she's going through, and we're going through it with her, But sometimes people like that, they just rub me the wrong way. So please be kind, be respectful. And that said, all right, Logan, I guess you get to close out. Is there anything you'd like to spotlight before we head on out of here of the trophy room?
I mean, I would say, if anything, first off, I have to respond to what you said, because it's insane. If there was ever anyone in the gaming pundit atmosphere that I trusted opinion more, it would be the overweight middle-aged person living at home, because they are the ones that are dedicating themselves to understanding this stuff. Some guy sitting out there next to their Lambo talking about how they're going to steal your girlfriend. I don't care what they think about video games.
And they're probably in a Romanian prison,
Yeah. They for all I care. That's how I feel about it, because they're not going to be bringing me actual news. No, I really love what you said, and it was moving, and no one has any right to any of the personal information that you've shared. And the fact that you're sharing it shows that no one understands what you deal with on a day-to-day basis, and they have no right to judge for that. If I could showcase anything, I would just say that I would love for folks to give the Xbox expansion pass a shot. And the reason for it is not because I'm on it, but because Luke Lore has industry driving interviews with devs from studios that people love their games for. And the work that he puts out there is something that he's proud of. He's constantly driving to be a voice and a home for people. And the Discord that we've created for the patrons is like a mini vacation from all of the that's going over on Twitter. And I absolutely love it.
Yeah. Honestly, the Xbox Expansion Pass is one of my favorite podcasts out there. Your Keel Hall podcast is amazing, though I've never been a part of it. That's fine. That's okay. Don't worry, Logan. I'm not going to put you on the spot. No. It's too late. It's all right. I said the thing. But yeah. But yeah, at the end of the day, when it comes to like mean comments, I knew I had to get used to them when I got a death threat over at Nintendo Labo. And then everything else, like, is off the just dirt off the shoulder. It's like, it really just comes down to they hate us because they ain't us, Yeah. And so like the only comment that honestly out of that whole post that I thought was like it hurt my feelings out of the whole thing, it was middle-aged, because I had to look up what is middle-aged, and I'm getting closer. I'm getting dangerously close, and I don't like that feeling whatsoever. But other than that,
I just barely crossed over 40. It's scary on this side.
Yeah.
I'm getting closer and closer to hearing the music that I like in the grocery stores, and that's how I know I'm getting old. Yeah. So just be aware. Like,
you're hearing Metallica in aisle 9.
Oh yeah, like Perfect Circle and stuff. Like, I'm just like, oh, what is this? Why am I enjoying the grocery store so much?
Why is Diary of Jane playing while I'm looking at like soda that I can't have? What's going on here?
It'll happen to you. Just wait. One day you're going to be listening to Little Nasty in the grocery store and thinking, what did my life become?
Real talk. I listen to the radio a lot at work because that's all we can do. And you can't even put our goddamn MP3s in. It's the worst. So I'm just hearing music from artists I don't know, and I automatically don't like. It's like, I don't know who this person is.
You're getting to that point now. You've shut yourself off from new music.
Yeah.
That's how you know.
Done.
You're getting closer and closer to that grave.
Done. The cutoff was Dua Lipa, and that's it for obvious reasons. But like Lil Nas X, if I hear another Lil Nas X song, I'm gonna jump off a window. I can't do it anymore, man. I just can't, you know? And not because the music's bad. I just don't understand what's going on anymore.
Yeah.
There's a rapper named Lil Yachty. And I'm like, is he just a little yacht? Don't know. I'm old. Little. Yeah.
That's all it is. They're just littles now. Like if you saw the Call of Duty Modern Warfare presentation that came out before it came, or no, was Modern? No, was it Vanguard? Oh, I can't remember.
I'll just believe your word, whatever it is.
It was the bigs versus the littles, and they got rappers to do the showcase, and it was a really funny thing because they're cussing, they're yelling. It's like they're like trying to promote a video game, and these guys are just playing like they're on the couch and stuff. It was hilarious.
Oh my god, that's honestly content we need to see more of. That's all. Like that's the content. What I've done to kind of de-stress. Actually, this is a great way to exit out. The one thing that I've done to de-stress is like I listen to a lot of comedy podcasts and a lot of more wholesome things as I get into the middle age era, where there's this awesome podcast. I forget what it's called, but it's a father-daughter podcast. And
really?
and he just interviews his daughter of like what she thinks the concept of the world is. And it is the cutest, most wholesome thing. And I'm like, you know what? Maybe I have faith in humanity again, you know? It's like, that's the content that I'm looking for. And yeah, when it comes to music, I'm just like, yeah, give me just Ghost and Linkin Park for now. Yeah. The rest is just too much.
Oh, R.I.P.
I've been trying to listen to new metal, and they got like techno stuff in the back because everybody wants to bring me the Horizon, I guess. And I'm like, stop, you're not them. This is no longer rock and roll. Give me guitars. Don't give me synth vibes, you know?
Where's the heavy metal? Where's that? Exactly. Somebody tell me what the new heavy metal bands are.
I'm lost and I'm confused. Everybody, that has been the Trophy Room, a PlayStation podcast. If you didn't know, now you know. All right? Biggie said that. I know that guy. Right? Biggie Smalls said that, right? If you don't know, now you know. Yeah, okay. Okay, cool.
I'm just smiling and nodding. That's all.
Right. Made by the players for the players. Everybody, wish Stevenson a good PAX East. Make sure you watch the 6-1 Mini Indie Showcase that is happening on March 22nd at noon EST time. The only EST time that matters. Sure. That said, I have a migraine. I'm going to go nurse this off. But before you do, make sure you hit us with a 5-star review over on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify. Please leave nice things. It really does help. Like B Diaz did, like Game Drop. Y'all are the real ones. Love y'all. So with all that said, with all that out of the way, everybody, keep your wits about you. Keep hunting and keep playing PlayStation. See you guys.